KC Nix, PK52, the Saturday morning meeting, second phase of Operation Possible. We've been doing this for the next couple of weeks. Phase one was last week, and we talked about scanning and looking and visually looking at your environment. Once you've greeted the customer, and I've really got an opinion on greetings. Everybody has their own greeting. You know, you really need to write your own greeting and have a purpose for it. I like doing a greeting that I introduce myself, and then I say something like, listen, I know you guys are probably just looking, and that's important. My job is too. So let me say that again. The number one objection anybody gives you is I'm just looking. So prior to the customer ever saying I'm just looking, let me just take that away from them. Let me just grab that, take that away from them by my greeting going, welcome to ABC Toyota. My name is KC. Listen, I know you guys are probably just looking, and that's important. So now, what are they going to come back and say, I'm just looking? I already said that. And I already told them that was extremely important, and I totally understood that. Some of you may think that's manipulation, but I don't know. After multiple years in the car business, when nearly every customer tries to throw you off by saying I'm just looking, it seems like after a while that we would try some kind of defensive mechanism against their defensive mechanism to be able to continue the conversation. So let me say it again. Welcome to ABC Toyota. My name is KC. Hey, listen, I know you guys are just looking, and that's important. My only job is to make sure that I give you all the information that you need. Good greeting. There are a million great greetings. Write your own based upon your personality, based upon an outcome. My outcome is to throw away the just looking statement. That's the only reason I use that one, because I just don't know how many more times that I can have a customer look at me and say I'm just looking, when obviously they just drove through traffic. There's road construction around the dealership. We're open. There's balloons or a big giant gorilla out in front, inflatable gorilla out in front of the dealership, and it says sale everywhere. And there's customers all over, and they drove there today to have an enjoyable afternoon. No, they're there to buy a car. I got the just looking. I don't blame them. If I go into a clothing store and somebody pops out from behind a rack, as soon as I walk in and go, can I help you? Man, I'm just looking. What I really should say is, yes, I've really got a little window of time. I don't want to spend all day here. Looking for a couple of shirts, a couple of ties, and maybe a sports jacket if you have something that I really like. Could you help me? That clerk in that department store is going to go bananas going like, man, I get to do my job right now. Let me put some stuff together for you, sir. I want to make you look fantastic. Wait until you see what I've got for you. At the end of the day, I've kind of rewarded that salesperson. So why would I ever go into a grocery store, a butcher shop, a bakery, a clothing store, and ever tell a salesperson that I was just looking? Because that's just not the truth. I was there to potentially purchase something. And if I found something that I really didn't expect to find, I might take that too. Why don't you let the other people in the world help you and do the same for the customer? Well, that was a rant, wasn't it? Sorry about that, but kind of a rule of thumb. Don't ever want to throw somebody off when they're in the sales business. We know how hard it is. Some of the biggest things that I wrote down years ago, I'm not in the market. And I look at that and I go, why would anybody go to a car dealership, especially on a weekend, and tell the sales professional, I'm really not in the market? And you know, what you really want to say is, then why are you here? But you can't, because you know the first thing you want to do is get confrontational with a customer, and then our closing percentage goes down. That's not exactly the way we want to go. So I'm going to give you some examples of what I might say. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to respond to my Facebook account or my Twitter account and tell me how stupid it was. It's a way, not the way. Too many people try to say it's in one box only. It's the people business, not the car business. Every customer is different. Every sales professional is different. So the customer looks at me and says, I'm not in the market. And I said, that's okay. If you were, though, in the market, what would be the most important thing to you? A lot of times when somebody says I'm not in the market, we come back and say car or truck. That makes a customer make a selection on a car or truck. Are you looking at Camrys? Are you looking at 4Runners? Don't make them make a selection, because basically what they said by saying I'm not in the market is I'm not ready to tell you that I'm ready to select anything. I've actually had customers say I'm not in the market, and I've confronted them. I said, well then, what are you actually looking for? And they go, well, I'm not really looking. I go like, man, I just pushed them the wrong way. That was on me. So I come back and I say, so if you were in the market, what would be most important to you? So I turned it back to them. They'll pick a car. They could pick a substitute. They could say safety. I said, I guess on us, price. Boy, nobody wants to hear that. I've been told since day one that it's never about price or payment. I don't know why anybody would say that to somebody. Are you from the planet Earth? If I've shopped this car down to only thing I care about is price, I've been to 3 or 4 other dealerships. I know exactly what I want. The only reason I'm there today is to find out what kind of price you'll give me. That's real. And if I can't meet that price, that customer is going to leave. So price and payment's real, safety's real, performance is real. Look, my last car wasn't a great car. I'm looking for a car that'll last a long time. This may be the last car I'll ever buy. What I want to do is I want to have that conversation. I want that customer to feel comfortable enough to be able to tell me, the most important thing I'm looking for right now is this. Then I'm not going to pick a car. If they say safety, don't jump at them and go, safety. You're in the right place. These cars are so safe that during the crash test, the dummy actually got out of the car and walked away. I don't know that that's going to work. If they say safety, pause for a second. Remember Socrates? That was interesting that you said safety. Why is that so important to you? And, for example, I sense this means a lot to you. Can you tell me more? You see what I'm trying to do right here? All I'm trying to do is get a conversation going with the customer. Remember, they know a lot more about what they're trying to do than I know at this point in time, so why not let them talk? If you go through the list of some of the toughest ones, what's your best price? What's your best price? So, I don't really know what best price means. So I'll ask a question like this. I'll come back and I'll say, are you looking for the lowest possible price on a car? Or are you looking for the best overall value for a car that has a lot of equipment? Because I really need to know, because I can guide you that way. So now I give them 2 choices. Are you looking for the best price? You're looking for the lowest possible price that you possibly can pay for a car? Or are you looking for a car that has a tremendous amount of value? And you can move up to this. And I've done this a lot of years. A customer's looking at an LE Camry. And, that's a car that we build in bulk. That's a great car, great equipment on the car, great A to B car, never going to have a problem with it, just a phenomenal car. But 4 years from now, if that customer's trading that LE Camry in, my used car manager or appraiser that goes out and look at the car doesn't get super excited about that car. It's another LE Camry. However, if that customer's trading an XSE Camry with all the equipment on it, with a beautiful color, car's in great shape, I've seen the used car manager get pretty excited about that car, that one-of-a-kind car. And I'll tell the customer that. I said, it's funny, if you can keep your mind open, sometimes you could pay a little bit more money for a car because of the equipment on the car and get more money back at the end, which reduces the overall amount of money that you paid for the car. So it doesn't really matter what you pay for the car if you get it all back when you're trading it back in. You and I both have had a situation where we bought a car before and at the end it wasn't worth anything. What we want to do is we'll give you a best price today and make sure we give you a best price when you bring the car back in. Let's talk. A lot of conversation, too much on the video of me talking, not enough for them, but they're not here, so I'm just trying to give you some conversation starting points. Again, a way, not the way. Don't lock me in a box and say that's the only thing Casey will say. I'm going to say something based upon what the customer gives me to say, because you don't have anything set that you're going to say. You're listening to them and watching their body language. How much will I have to put down? I've been pretty straight with this from day one. The majority of customers that come into a dealership that owe a balance on their car have negative equity, especially if they're trading in a domestic car in today's market. For some of you guys that have attended some of the seminars I've done this year, last year, 2017, was the biggest year in the history of negative equity in the car business. There were so many car deals last year that you had completed. They had purchased a car from you, but they were so far upside down that they couldn't get a bank to buy that much, so they couldn't buy a car from you. So, I mean, that's a problem. So I always tell the customer, you know, how much money will I have to put down? The first thing I think about is, why'd they say that? That's just not something that somebody would ask up front before you've even seen a car. They've been somewhere else. And that other dealership told them that they needed a lot of money down in order to get approved, or something like that. Let me not answer every question there, but somebody's informed them that they needed a lot of money down. And I would say at this point in time, either they don't want to put a lot of money down, or they don't have the money to put down. So what I say is, banks request 20%. I didn't say require. I said request. Bank request 20% on average. A bank has always want to put themselves in an equity position. So the more money you put down, the lower your payment. So let me say it again. Banks request 20%. They want to be in an equity position. Remember though, the more you put down, the lower your payment. And the last thing I would say to them is, a low payment important to you? So watch this. They don't have any money down. If they've seen numbers in another store with no money down, the numbers have been higher because the payment's going to be higher with no money down. I asked them if they wanted a low payment, and most customers will jump at that and say, yes, I really want to get my payment as low as possible. Well, the easiest way to get the payment low as possible is to have money down. So on the first pencil, I come back from the desk, I've penciled 20-25% down. And I say, you said you wanted a lower payment, I'm trying to get your payment as low as possible. So it's just something that was created at the beginning of the conversation so that it comes up again at the end of the conversation, and I'm not springing something on them. We've already established that more money down lowers the payment. Again, you need to really chew on this and think on this, and then you need to practice these dialogues, because it needs to be second nature. I mean, you want them to like the payment. You want them to have money down, because it's going to increase your closing percentage. And when they come back to you 3 or 4 years from now, if they put money down, they're going to be able to trade again. So it really helps you a lot. So the next thing is, what's your finance rate? I don't know. This is probably going to make every manager that watches this mad. But if we're advertising 1.9, I say right now in the dealership, some of our vehicles qualify for a 1.9. As far as I know, that's the lowest interest rate that we're offering right now. Depending on the car that you buy, and depending on the term that you go, but I know that we do have a 1.9. I answered the question. I don't know, there's 4 or 5 more I could go through. I've been on the internet. I like that response. You know, just to let you know, I've already been on the internet, I've already been to your website. So you've already seen the car priced, you've already seen the equipment on the car, you've already seen a payment calculator or a payment estimator. You had a site that you could have gone to establish a lease payment and a retail payment. There was probably even a link where you could have got your car appraised online. So the very first thing I want to find out about a customer that's done the majority of their work on the internet is, when you left the internet, what had you got accomplished? Had you established a payment on the car? Had you established the price you wanted to pay on the car? Had you selected a particular car? And if you have, do you have the VIN or the stock number? So let's start at the car that you want to start at. So think about what I gave you today, and there are so many things that every customer says. I'm just looking, I'm not in the market, we're not really ready yet, this is our first stop. All of these things come up over and over again. Take a few minutes and write down the objections as you hear them. If you're really new in the car business, I'm begging you, when you hear an objection and you fumble it, because it happens to everybody, no matter what your experience level is, write that objection down and then write a response. Because if a customer gave you an objection and you go, time out, and we could call time and run over to our coach on the sideline and go, hey, this lady just said this, and we could parlay about it, then you go back and bam, your response would be straight on the money, because you can't call time out with a customer. So make sure that every situation, whether you sell a car or don't sell a car, is a learning experience. Jot down what caught you by surprise. Maybe your response wasn't exactly what you want. Write it down. Figure out what you should have said and be prepared for the next customer. Because remember, the customer really came to the dealership to buy a car. This has been PK52, second episode of Operation Possible, the Saturday morning meeting.